Hello, welcome to the Lately in PHP podcast. This is episode 32, and as always, finally we have Ernani getting back to the hangout regularly. Hello, Ernani. How are you doing?
Hello, Manuel. Glad to be here again. Hopefully things will be smoother within the following months, and hopefully I'll be available. Lots of great things to talk about.
Yes, exactly. Well, this month several important things happen or are about to happen, and we are going to talk about each of them regularly. I'm going to screen share the first topic that we are going to comment here, which is precisely the release of PHP 5.4.11 and PHP 5.3.21. There is not much to say about these releases, but we can just mention them because there is always people that want to follow the latest versions. I don't know if the font is large enough. I think it's already in the limit of the size to show you. Well, there are not many things to say about these releases because they are mostly bug fixes, which basically means that these versions are stabilizing, and the bugs that are being fixed are not really crucial, at least from what I can see here. And other than that, just to mention these new releases for those that are interested to follow the latest version and eventually upgrade. Also, there were a couple of new alpha releases of PHP 5.5.0, and I don't even know the details of what maybe have been changed that may be more important, but just people know about these releases. A couple of alpha releases were done this month, one on January 10 and another January 24. So they are following the regular schedule of having alpha release every 2 weeks, and this is great because there are plans to reach feature freeze to start the actual beta testing of the final version of PHP 5.5 that according to the schedule it should happen like in February 7. I don't know if this hangout will be published before that. It will depend on the speed of the transcribers that will be transcribing this the audio of the podcast to text, so we can publish the article. And well, anyway, things are coming at a good pace, but there is a more important news regarding this release of eventually PHP 5.5.0 will already include a new alternative for a cache engine, because Zend, actually is Zev Zuraski from Zend offered to open source the Optimizer Plus, which is an extension that used to be closed source. They developed that extension at Zend to provide well, Zend Optimizer initially used to be just an optimization extension that would optimize the opcode generated by PHP, and then they evolved it. I think the latest releases already include the caching engine itself that will actually speed up the execution. Well, actually not the execution, but the overhead of compiling PHP into opcodes. And they are offering this extension because ideally PHP should be shipping a caching extension, and APC would be the natural candidate. But according to Rasmus Lerdorf, the APC is not yet in a state that can be considered stable. It has some bugs. After all these years, it has some bugs that they consider that can affect the stability of that caching engine. So the guys from Zend offered the Optimizer Plus. Well, for me, this seems to be great news because finally PHP can ship an extension, a caching extension. This is, by the time we are recording this is not yet decided. There is an RFC to propose this to be included either in PHP or at least first be put in the PECL repository of extensions to be considered by the community for now to test it and see which caching extension may be included in the final. Later the release of PHP, probably 5.6 or even 6.0. That probably happen not this year, maybe next year. Ernani, I don't know if you have been following these happenings. What are your thoughts about this?
It should be a very straightforward, as per Z's mentioning here. It should be a straightforward situation, especially on the release of 5.5. So hopefully, I've been reading it before we would start the hangout. So as far as I can understand, it has a more commercial appeal to APC, and it requires less effort, and it seems to be the right way of doing things. And it's nice to see the initiative from Zend doing this. It's very nice to see that they are willing to open source Zend Optimizer.
Right. There was a great debate. I think the debate still goes on as we are recording this podcast, and there are certain discussions precisely because some people claim that there are other caching extensions that are considered stable from other people, and but some people were concerned that just because this extension is being proposed by Zend, it should not get any privileges. Somebody else also claimed that whoever has developed other extensions can also submit an RFC to propose those other extensions if there is any interest. And so far it did not happen, but in the end, what matters is the result of the votes of the RFC, because, what can we say about this proposal is that some people like it. I think the generality of the people like the idea, but I'm not sure what will be the results of the votes. I was trying to screen share the actual RFC page here, and from what I understood, the suggested voting options are here: integrate Optimizer Plus in PHP 5.5 and allow 2 months of delay for this release. and so it can be tested, the integration. Give it a couple more months. So the final PHP 5.5 does not ship with some with bugs in this Optimizer Plus extension. The other option would be integrate Optimizer Plus into PHP, but don't delay it for 5.4, 5.5. And the other option would be to not integrate Optimizer Plus in PHP for now, and just provide it as an optional component in PECL only. Well, the outcome of this this proposal is not yet decided. I think it will still have 1 week after the proposal was put there for discussion, and then there will be 1 week for the votes. And the votes, well, the date here that appears for the proposal is January 28. So there are still a few more days to go before the votes will be started. But well, in my opinion, this seems to be great, because the story of APC is that there are not enough developers to go after the bugs and fix them. I mean, capable developers, because it's not just a matter of fix bugs. First, you have to figure what are the reasons for the bugs to exist. And I think this is being proposed for several years. It was supposed to be shipped with PHP 5.4. Once it was decided that the original plan for PHP 6.0 was cancelled.
I'm not sure what happened with the Turk cache extension.
Yeah, well, that's curious that you ask. Basically, to the Turk cache extension, I think the original developer got an offer from Zend. It's
right.
Dmitry Stogov. I think he still works in Zend, and probably got even involved in this Optimizer Plus extension, and he's still one of the core contributors to PHP itself. Although we don't see him much commenting on the lists, I understand that he's an active developer there. And well, anyway, one of the arguments that was claimed about preferring Optimizer Plus to APC is that there are several other developers, not only the two Zend founders, Seth Zurasky and Andy Gutmans, and as well Dmitry Stogov and Stas Nalishev. Stas used to work at Zend as well, but although he is working at Sugar CRM right now, and he also has been the release manager of PHP 5.4.
Right.
And so all these people are very active, and they know very well the code, which is something that is very important, because this specific kind of extension is not very trivial. You have to have a good in-depth knowledge about PHP, and also how the actual opcode execution in caching can work.
Yeah, and there were some benefits related with the optimizers or cache, if it would mean,
well,
because it allows PHP applications to be obfuscated, and then you can provide licenses.
Yes, but I think that part was already separated. I think that was the role of the original Zend Optimizer extension, that would also decode the PHP files encoded with the Zend encoder.
Right.
But well, I'm not certain, but I think that was a feature of Zend Optimizer or the original extension. But then there was I think that they moved that part to the ZenGuard
I see.
extension, and Zend Optimizer Plus. I don't know if the original closed source extension would also decode. Well, I think I never used it. I'm not sure. What I know is that when Facebook released their hip hop compiler, I did some benchmarks to test whether using Zend Optimizer, because the Zend Optimizer also has opcode optimization features. They try to rewrite the opcodes to make the code eventually run faster. If that would have any impact on the performance of PHP, and it turns out the difference was minimal, like not much more than 1% in terms of speed, at least when compared with the version of PHP that was available then. But this, I think it was in 2010, or is it 11? Well, there is an article in the site that I wrote about PHP compilers, and it explains well. So the greatest benefit of Zend Optimizer was certainly having a stable cache extension in PHP. And for me, the most important impact this will have is that many benchmarks that try to compare PHP with other languages, they always run PHP without a caching extension. And that is not very fair, because if you are serious with PHP in production, you use a caching extension, and your PHP code will run faster. But if people are comparing benchmarks of PHP with other languages, the results will be distorted, at least we compare with production environments. And well, there is one detail that is worth mentioning. The caching extension itself will not make PHP code run faster. I mean, what will be faster is the loading of the PHP, because caching extensions they take the results.
They optimize the I/O of the PHP interpreter, loading PHP files within the disk, right?
No, actually, they will skip the compilation step. That will only happen in the first time a script is executed.
It's similar to a query. If we would talk about MySQL, it's similar to the query caching as well, right? That MySQL does.
I think you can compare it with that somehow. It's if you execute the same query again, it will retrieve the results from cache instead of going through the actual database table to get the results. I think you can compare it well, because what happens when you use a caching extension in PHP, it just stores the results of the opcode compiler.
Yeah, because basically most languages, they have 3 steps, right? Sorry, I mean 3 here, not 4. Yeah. But in my overall idea of it, they have the parse phase where it parses the syntax, then the execution itself, and then the fetch phase. And it's basically the concept from Oracle, from MySQL, from any databases, as well as any scripting language. And yeah, I guess that this optimizer, the best optimization happens when we're talking about I/O, where it reads the file from the disk, which is not a very fast application. Now with SSD, it should be less problematic, but
well, in practice, when you use a caching extension, it does not even access the disk, because the compiled opcodes will be just copied in memory.
Yeah, it would be
in some cases, I think they do not even copy from one memory space to the other. I think they just run it from where it is in memory, because um, I think it uses shared memory,
Right.
and that makes it very, very fast. So when people claim that PHP is slow because it is interpreted, that's all rubbish. That's totally untrue. At least since the year 2000,
Right.
when PHP 4 it was introduced, the
And that
execution
was
step is from memory, not interpreting the lines of PHP code.
right. And within 2000, there was the benefit from JSP compared to PHP because JSP would be compiled once and run throughout the whole deployment
Yes,
situation.
I think you can compare it somehow because JSP is just basically Java with within an HTML template or
Yeah.
something.
Basically, JSP has a Joppert, which is a parser of the JSP, which then brings it into Java. So it's all Java in the end, and it will create a cache of it as a Java class and be loaded within
Yeah.
the JVM. So now, if you take the approach of PHP, it puts into a memory heap or a memory space, and if you don't change the file, it will be executing that specific file, that specific block of memory or
Right.
instructions right off the bat, and it helps the performance. And I'd
Right.
say that this would be beneficial to applications similar as WordPress or e-commerce like Magento and other applications that we are mostly known. There are mostly known, such as Sugar, CRM, and all these standard applications. Let's put it this way. And I believe that when we are talking about applications that requires you to flush the cache, then it wouldn't make much sense. Like
Right.
content management systems, which benefits from publish subscribe situation where you have files. They are mostly static. Then you don't see much performance increase. But other than that, it's very beneficial.
Right. Well, we've been using caching extensions for more than 10 years, and finally seeing PHP eventually shipping with a built-in caching extension,
Yeah,
it's just better late than never because uh, I think PHP is getting a hit because of the benchmarks that work around. We can see people using claiming that the benchmarks are not favorable to PHP when they run it without a caching extension. But as I was saying, the caching extension itself will not make the PHP code run faster. It's just
yeah,
it just skips the compilation step. There are even better ways to run PHP even faster that require something that we already talked about here several times, which are JIT compilers,
yeah,
and like the one that Facebook is using and developing, maturing. Having that built in PHP to be something maybe for PHP 6, but that depends a lot on not just technology but also on politics, because if you go to the discussion forums, the, the internal list, you can see there are always people that object
yeah.
the
And
inclusion of certain things, and that's
since
not
we always
technology, it's politics.
yeah, since we always talk about this on most of the episodes here, it may seem that we are touching their wound, but it's
Yeah,
not the case here. We are not against those rules. There are rules, and they made it so they have their own credits for it. But I think that people should start opening their mind And the idea here is to try to benefit the whole thing. But I know that there are a limited amount of people that are trusted, and
Yeah.
there is just there should be an extra effort being done to accept other members that are willing to contribute.
Right. That is a very complicated matter. We have already talked about it several times, and
Yeah, but
I'm sure and we'll
yeah,
still get back to that because it's
yeah.
always getting in the way, the politics.
The idea here is just to make everybody aware that we are not trying to put the fingers on their wounds.
Right.
By talking about it,
Not
we
the
do.
fingers and not anything else.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea is just to make sure that we, as people that work with it, would love to see more and more technically skilled people assisting the PHP core in order to make these improvements within the, and not being just arguing and mocking people and etc.
Right.
Because this, in my opinion, just shows up immaturity.
Right. And that's something that we do not do. Maybe sometimes we express opinions that are different from other people, but we certainly take it very seriously because we know many thousands of people are watching this podcast that you record, and
Yeah.
anything that we could speak that would be not very serious would not be good for us. Well, anyway, we talk a lot about this topic. It is very important, but we need to move on to other topics. Another thing that did not yet happen, at least at the time of the recording, but is expected to happen soon, is the release of MySQL 5.6, at least the generally available release, also known as GA, and Oracle posted a blog article that I'm going to screen share here, on which they summarize what is new in PHP, MySQL 5.6. And this is very interesting because when MySQL was sold to Oracle, people doubted that Oracle would take MySQL forward because it, in practice, is a competitor of the Oracle database engine, and people always doubted that Oracle would allow MySQL to cannibalize their main database product. So it is interesting to know that they are finally going for the regular schedule on which they be publishing the new version of MySQL with several interesting features. I'm trying to increase the fonts to see if it can read better here. Well, anyway, there are some improvements. Some of the improvements are on the security level, others on the performance. But I think the most noticeable difference is having a NoSQL access to the InnoDB tables by the means of an API that is compatible with the mcached. For those that are not familiar with mcached is a server that stores key value pairs. I mean, you can assign a value to a certain key and it gets stored there. And mcached stores it in memory for faster access. And this makes it ideal for storing, for instance, PHP session data in a cluster of servers. When you have a site that is served by several servers, you could use mcached to share the common data and make it available for different web servers that run PHP. And mcached, which is nothing specific of PHP, is a product that makes this key value pair storage available. And what this has to do with MySQL 5.6 is that they are making it available for as an API compatible with mcached to access data in the tables. I was trying to see an example. How could you use NoSQL access, but I'm not sure if I can find it in this article. Well, basically, you use a table and with a primary key that will be your key to access the data in the values that are stored in the NoSQL access to this table. There are some graphs here, and they showed some performance graphics that demonstrate that using this mcached API to access these key value pairs would be faster than using SQL, because it will skip the step of compiling the SQL into query plan that will retrieve the data from the databases.
Yeah.
Ernani, I don't know if you have checked these new features of MySQL 5.6. What are your thoughts?
I've had a brief read on it yesterday, since I do love MySQL, and it makes me interesting to see Oracle's approach on it. And one of the two features that I like to see going on is that the difference, the better performance with SSD, which is the future, and we know about it. It should be used for most servers, and they have an approach here. They explain the differences between spinning disks and solid-state drives, and they have support for smaller 4K and 8K page sizes, so they fit the standard storage algorithm of the disk. And they have very good explanations here between the difference of the disk. And another one is the portable IBD, which is the data file that will allow hot tables to be easily moved between SSDs and separate table spaces for the InnoDB log that can be then moved, and the read intensive I/O patterns as well. So that's nice to see here. It should be that should be a boost comparison on performance. And another thing that I will highlight the text here on my and it's actually what we were talking about of the Zend Optimizer Plus. It seems that MySQL has a better query execution time based off on the improved optimizer that they have. So they refactored the whole optimization that will benefit both query execution times as well as subquery. And we all know that SQL is very nice on its own, but subqueries are mostly required in complex systems. And having this being improved as well will allow us to get even better performance on this. So I'd say that I'm looking forward for this release, and I like to see the traditional thing. When talking about the memcached part, it's also nice to see that they are focusing as well on the, let's put it this way, the new fashion of concepting architecture. And it's nice to see that they are also going the NoSQL folks, because it's nice to see the better of two worlds. And it seems that they changed also thread concurrency rules, which may benefit concurrent threads. Also focusing on the core optimization. Let's put it this way: if you have multiple cores, you can benefit from this. So it's nice to see that they are also analyzing those things. And yeah, I would say that if we have working systems today based off on MySQL, and then checking these new improvements, it should benefit a lot the current applications as well as the future applications.
Right. Well, I was trying to figure what would be exactly the planned release date, but I could not find it anywhere. Anyway, still talking about performance. There's an article here. Try to share it, by Wolf Wendell, who is a PHP developer, and he was commenting on the claims that the queries could be 1.5 to 9 times faster with PHP and MySQL 5.6. So those questioning these claims. Well, from what I understood, I think the comparison is only valid for the cases on which they are querying key value pairs. So when they say it's NoSQL, it's not exactly the same as MongoDB. It's just a Mcached interface for querying key value pairs, and that's what you get. You will not get whole documents, whole objects like you get with MongoDB and others.
I'd say Memcached was the initial NoSQL engine, and such as CouchDB, MongoDB, Redis, right?
Right, but
those are second generation NoSQL applications, as far as I can.
Right, but the NoSQL access that MySQL is offering has nothing to do with that. It's just querying key value pairs.
Right.
And with that, but because that's a very common use case, like I mentioned, the use of key value pair storage for storing PHP session data. And that is a very important use case because it's very common. And but there are differences. I don't think MySQL can be actually faster than Memcached because MySQL implies some storage, and at least in Memcached, it does not store any data in files. And there is another a similar package that is sending being used for storing key value pairs called Redis that actually stores the data in persistent storage. So if the server goes down or needs to be shut down for some reason, when it gets back up, the storage stays there, and you do not lose keys. And but this article may be interesting because Wolf shows several benchmarks here. So if you want to take a deeper look at it, you may find it interesting. It talks about some PHP extensions that allow monitoring the calls to the MySQL.
It seems that they did a pretty good job on the memcache layer to go directly to the InnoDB storage, and then basically you can
a wrapper.
Yeah, you can have a direct access to the InnoDB storage by using the memcached API, and instead of going the SQL way.
Well, but in the end, it's not the same because, as I mentioned, the data will be stored persistently unless you are using heap tables,
right?
Of MySQL to store the actual data for the key value pairs that you are using. And but this is another option. Well, anyway, there'll be a lot more to say about this, but we need to move on. And the next topic that I wanted to comment, still related to MySQL, is that now that Oracle is releasing MySQL 5.6, Fedora and OpenSuSE announced that will replace MySQL with MariaDB. MariaDB is a fork of MySQL done by one of the original creators of MySQL, Monty. He was not happy with the fact that after he sold MySQL to Sun was sold to Oracle, which would be one of the main rivals of MySQL.
Right.
And so he was a bit upset and created MariaDB, which would be a fork. And he tries and actually managed to achieve the full compatibility, at least as far as possible, to be running the same applications without compatibility issues. And since Linux distributions are probably the most popular being used on web servers, this move is interesting. Well, I actually wonder if this MariaDB is already compatible with MySQL 5.6 features, namely this NoSQL. I did not have time to verify that, but there is an article here that talks about the move of OpenSuSE and Fedora to move it, and this is interesting. Well, from what I can read here, at least MariaDB will be compatible with MySQL 5.5. They even have a similar numbering, as you may see here. Well, actually, there is an article here talking about MariaDB 10 and MySQL 5.6. So, well, we can see here. Well, but I was not aware of this plan, but it seems that okay. Well, this is interesting that this news is happening, and well, we'll have to see what happens in the next version of MariaDB, because this competition seems to me it's very interesting. Ernani, did you ever try MariaDB?
No, actually, I haven't even heard of it before. I've heard of another clone that I've been digging 2 years ago, but I haven't seen any changes, so I gave it up, and I've been using MySQL most of the time. It's weird that there are some weird ads here that plays audio, so not sure if you got it there, but I've had it the same
Yes, I
experience.
was opening a tab that had a page with an ad that was advertising something. I had to shut it down.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Funny.
Yes, because you probably are opening the same pages.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
But
anyway,
yeah, I'm curious about this change on Fedora, and okay, I guess that it's worth the shot to have a different fork of MySQL. But in order to make this change, or it requires a maturity, and I'd say that it requires to have some subset of maturity, and hopefully they've reached it with MariaDB.
yes. Well, given that it is from the original creator of MySQL, I'm sure it is very mature, and probably we don't even know if it is even more advanced. I mean, I'm sure there are differences, and but since it's all open source, I'm sure they keep watching each other, and they will try to borrow parts of the code, because it is all the license is GPL, and even to make it compatible, they probably are required to borrow parts of the code from each other to at least from MySQL to MariaDB. They
I would just,
probably have to do that.
yeah, I would just, those kinds of things is where they fall into those huge fights about open source. And fighting with Oracle can be somewhat problematic. So that's why I think people don't face the odds here. But it's nice to see that there are people willing to do this and
Well,
to
in
actually.
reality, it's not people fighting Oracle. It's people keeping up with advancements of each other. They are not legally fighting. They are not
Right.
arguing against each other, but there is an attempt to make something compatible.
Yeah, they are not right now. They are not fighting, but until we see something like Android, which was then allegedly using Java, and we see MariaDB allegedly, some technology allegedly using MariaDB, and then Oracle said, "Oh, but it uses some of the property of Oracle."
Right.
And then you see the kind of things stinking out of it. And
right, but
hopefully this won't happen. That's my
right. I don't think that will happen, because it's really open source, and the case of Android was not really open source. And from what I understood, the lawsuits that Oracle imposed to Google were about the use of concepts, not the use of code. Concepts that were allegedly patented, and still in the courts, it failed to pass the validity of those patents, I think. Well, I'm not an expert on the subject to interpret this probably in the most accurate way, but well, that's the way I see it. Well, anyway, this is an interesting topic. There are probably much more to say about it, but we need to move on. And this time I'm going to move on to talk about an article, just briefly, that was published on the PHP Classes blog.
Just so I'm clear on it, all patent discussion should be avoided. here and there.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring any future to anyone.
Right.
Other than the patent holder and the lawsuit winner.
Right. We don't want to get sued for talking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So erase that part. Well, anyway, as I was saying, there was an article here about from Zurmo, developer named Race Stockich. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, despite his name is, despite he's American, his surname is probably a bit difficult for me to pronounce it correctly. But anyway, he wrote an article about Zurmo, which is an open source CRM system written in PHP, on which he used test-driven development, and this means several things, not only um, test-based developments, but also use continuous integration to keep testing things as they evolve. And I published an interesting article here. We are just going to to mention it briefly. Other than that, I'd like to take this chance to remind everybody that if you have an open source project that would like to talk about, the PHP Classes site blog is open for you to publish it. This is not, how would I say, it's not a sponsored article. Despite Zurmo is a commercial company, this is an open source product that they wanted to talk about. They talk about their methods, they talked about the frameworks they use the YI framework, and also the Red Bean PHP ORM. They explain why they use it, and they also talk a bit about the CRM system itself. It is a sort of opportunity for them to talk about the product. They do not sell the product, they sell consultancy, from what I understood. And this opportunity to talk about your open source projects is open to anybody, not just these people. If you, for some reason, you would like to talk about a commercial product, that would be a different story. That is also possible, but that would be subject to a sponsorship. And also articles have a disclaimer that when they are sponsored, because you want to be transparent about it. Well, that's practically all I have to say about it. That was not something important. Ernani, I don't know if you want to comment anything about this Zurmo CRM system, or you did not have much time to take a look at it.
I didn't. I love those systems. I like to working with it, but I haven't had the opportunity to do so. And it's nice to know that it's there, and I should be doing my investigations in the future. And hopefully on the next episode we can talk about it if we have the time to do so.
Yeah, maybe
Or
that
in
is not really
another.
important, because it's not it's just generally related PHP. It's nothing about anything new.
Right.
Uh,
But
and
it's nice to see technologies based off on PHP, and it's nice to understand the whereabouts of them as well. And it's nice to know that PHP can realize those things as well. And eventually, we may have an episode where we call some CRM providers to discuss the benefits of using PHP in such applications instead of other technologies.
right. Yeah, well, that's a possibility. We don't know yet if there will be any interest from those developers, but we can think about it if there is interest. Well, anyway, we need to move on. We're reaching almost the end of the podcast, but there are still time to talk about a few things related to the next section, on which we comment the latest classes objects published on the JSClasses site, which is the PHP classes site brother site. And since it is a relatively new site, we always take this chance to promote it a bit, because it's all interesting, the JavaScript components that are published there. But before we get to the actual mentions of the interesting JavaScript components, I'd like to comment a bit about an article that, despite it is there in the JSClasses site, it is related with a feature that was also implemented on the PHP classes site, which is the systems levels of missions that were implemented in late November. And this article talks about a component that was used to implement the animations that were used in all the pages of the systems of missions and levels that were implemented. And basically this article talks a bit about using animations to get the attention of the users, because sometimes you need to present information that sometimes it's a lot of information, and it gets cluttered in the user interface, and the user doesn't know exactly what would be the most important information to talk about. You can use some styles, use larger fonts, use different colors, and so, but sometimes that is not enough. And this article talks about some animations that were implemented with a JavaScript component that is also in the JSClasses site, and it was used to implement some animations that are not only nice to see, but they are very effective to call to the attention of the user. Let me try to show them here. For instance, in the user status page, I'm going to load it here. As you may be seeing, hopefully, you saw that several page elements are appearing in the page. You could see that there was this progress bar that you have seen. It was animated also with this component. Actually, there were two components involved, but the main animation component was this one that I was talking about. You saw the progress bar advancing. Let me reload so you can take a look at it with greater attention. You see the page, the progress bar increases up to the current level, and it shows 66% I have done so far in this level that I am on, and there I have one mission to go. All this in large font to get the attention of the user. Then below it appears a message that says, well, 11 users have completed this level so far. So I also need to move on and complete this missing mission to get to the next level. And the next mission, which is the one that is remaining, it says here, next mission, publish innovative classes. And it has drawn a circle, actually an ellipsis here that gets the user the attention of the actual mission that you need to do next. And I can click here. It expands the area a bit, and again it draws a circle to the next message that I need to pay attention, which is to go to the mission briefing page. Then I would go to the mission briefing page, and it's the same thing. There are some messages here that appear, shows some text.
That brings me to one question. Yeah. Haven't you been involved into any innovative packages yourself?
Oh, that's a different story. The matter is that due to policy reasons, I do not nominate myself.
Oh, I see.
So it doesn't matter. I may have published some innovative packages. I certainly did, but I do not nominate myself because it would be a conflict of interest. I could imagine some users complaining if I did do that, because they could feel that I was using
unfair.
subjective criteria. And well, anyway, I think you already got the idea. These animations used here. I don't know if you noticed when it shows this mission, 13 other people have completed this mission. It does not start in 13. It starts in 0 and it grows 13 incrementally. Let me reload the page so you can see it again.
Yeah, it seems to be counting up.
Yeah, well, it's sort to make it look like a video game on which it shows the score increasing gradually,
Right.
and then you can see.
Does it use pure JavaScript or CSS as well?
Well, it uses JavaScript, and as I mentioned here in the article, it uses already some HTML5 elements like canvas. For instance, these circles here, I don't even know how you can animate them with anything else besides canvas. You could use images, but you would have to have many images to render a circle here. And then if you, as I'm going to reload again, just well, okay.
You could also benefit from GIF files, but then it looks 1999.
No, it wouldn't work. You could use GIF animations, but that would have to be generated on the server side,
Yeah.
and there would be a different it would be very difficult for the
It will
for
be
the reason
1999 for sure.
no, GIF animations still have their uses. Some people use them to upload pictures that are actually animations to certain sites, but in this case it would not do. For instance, this circle here, the size is adjusted to the container message.
I'd say animated GIFs are for 9gag websites and others.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And pages under construction, but other than that,
it's more or less like that. But as I always say, just to complete this part, GIF animations will not do because the size of this circle adapts to the size of this message, and it depends on the size of the font on the browser, and it is not exactly the same on every browser, and well, it wouldn't work. And that's not just that. There are other effects that are available using this package, and this package is on JSClasses site for animations. And well, if you are interested in usable user interfaces, you can take a look at this. And now we need to move on to the actually mentioning the Innovation Award that is finally getting started in JSClasses site. It was actually started this month of January, and there was even an article about it. There is not much to say about this article, but it was published here just to tell a bit about the prizes and the sponsors and so on. Some of the sponsors are basically the same as the ones that already sponsored the PHP classes Innovation Award, and except these are restricted to those that provide prizes that are more interesting to JavaScript developers. And there is here Pact Publishing that is giving away a book of choice from them, and there is also Web Dev Publishing, which is the company of Michael Kimsel, the co-host of the JSClasses podcast, and is the owner of the company that publishes JSMag. They are giving away a subscription of JSMag, and there is also O'Reilly that has been very supportive since the beginning. They organize many interesting events. Besides the books, they also publish it, so they'll be giving away an e-book of choice. from their extensive library. So the invitation for everybody to come and participate also in the JavaScript Innovation Award is done, and now we need to actually move on to the actual mention some classes published in the JSClasses site. This month there are like 11 classes published there. Things are fluctuating a bit in terms of number of contributions, but it's a reasonable quantity for a site that is not as old as PHP classes. And this month we have a problem, which is that I always avoid to comment on packages that are nominated to the Innovation Award. Since some of these packages already nominated, we need to avoid to talk about them at least this month. We can talk about them next month. The reason is just to be, we do not want to influence the users that will vote on the award. And well, given that, Ernani, which packages do you think would be more interesting to comment this month?
Right, I've already made my pick, and the winner is, I mean, in my vote here, is the form generator component. It's from Stefan Chapman.
Well, see if you can increase your font a bit, it would be nicer.
Let's see. I guess
that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, form generator. This object can generate and lay out HTML forms dynamically. Very useful for complex applications that require steps between forms to fill out. And let's imagine a progress situation as well as your example on the mission.
Right.
I guess that this component can help you do whatever you want with the forms in a simpler way using JavaScript. And the author is Stefan Chapman. He's from Australia. And it's very nice to see such components here.
Right. And
that deals with the DOM itself, right? It's nice to see DOM manipulation on the fly. I like to see those kinds of components.
Yes, this is not exactly an innovative component. That's right. It was not nominated, but it's always useful because you are always in need of components that can do things dynamically on the browser side. In this case, is to generate forms, and so
yeah,
great that Stefan also contributed this and other components that he also sent. And other than that, what other components would you like to mention?
Right. The next component, if you guys are using YouTube's high quality or full HD resolution, you already realized by my Chrome's top bar here.
Yeah, it's a bit fuzzy. I don't think people will be able to read it very well.
Maybe it's in 1080p. They would be.
Well, the problem is that Google Hangouts limits the recording to 360. That's.
Oh, I see.
We cannot do miracles except for recording it outside of Google Hangouts.
Oh, I see. Yeah, my next component is STPL. I guess it's an abbreviation of standard template, and it basically implements a template engine based on replacing tags, which is widely used in Express and jQuery. You have modules that does those for you, but it's nice to see something new and something different.
Right.
It's from Jonathan Gotti. He's from France. Actually, it's nice to see people from France. I haven't seen much users on this site, so it's nice.
Well, there are a few but there are countries that have more people from those countries,
Right.
and but well, that would be. It depends. Some months more than others. We have more contributors for certain countries. That's right.
Right. Congratulations. Very nice. I like what I see.
Right. Well, on my part, I also like to mention a couple of components. Let me screen share here. One of them is underground weather APIs from Tom Schaefer from Germany. He's a regular contributor both PHP classes and JSClasses site. He has sent quite a lot of components to the PHP classes site, and he continues to do so. So good to have him as contributor. And he already sent other packages that maybe you can talk about in the future, but this month we're going to just talk about this one. This is an object that can retrieve information from the underground API about the weather of certain places, certain regions, weather forecasts, weather conditions, and stuff. And use a JSON-P protocol, which basically means that the requests are sent directly from the browser to the underground API web server. And I suppose you use JSON-P using a script tag that is added to the page precisely because I think regular AJAX requests are limited to calls to the same domain, I think, if not mistaken, and the same domain of the page. And it is interesting that with this component you can retrieve weather information without going through your own server. So as long as there is a connection between the browser machine and the underground API servers, it will retrieve that information. So kudos to Tom for his contribution. And the other component that I also want to mention is, again, by Stefan Shapeman from Australia, another one that it does the sort of those marquee elements, except that instead of scrolling horizontally, it scrolls vertically. It's a slight variety of the same effect, but as you may imagine, this as it is interests many sites are using, you can do the same as in many other sites on which you can drag the mouse over the elements that are being scrolled, and it stops scrolling, so you can
But please don't make weird pop-ups with this component. You can use it, but
well,
don't make those blinking ads with it.
Well, many sites are already blocking the pop-ups. I mean, many browsers are already blocking the pop-ups, but
yeah, I don't
find
know.
workarounds to use those floating page elements to emulate the pop-ups.
I don't know how, but I've been into websites where not even the pop-up blockers work.
Yes, that's
They
what I was saying. There are sites that use floating elements that are not really pop-ups. They are in the same page, but they
No,
are
but
on top
they
of
know
the
they
content.
open they know how to open a different page. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And I've been into googling some questions on a technical situation where when I opened it just spawned 3 or 4 windows of ads. Normally, websites that have links to
The,
for shared
problem
websites.
are emulating clicks on links that have the target window to
Right.
make it open a new window.
Oh yeah.
And I think in that case the pop-up blockers will probably not work because they are not sure if it is the user or some script.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
that's a guess. I'm not sure if that's the case.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, well, Anyway, next month we'll hopefully start talking about the actual nominees of this month that we don't want to comment, but they are up for votes. And now it's time to move on to the actual PHP Innovation Award. Now that we are reaching the end of this podcast, but we still have time to mention briefly some of the nominees. Don't have time to mention all, but I think we can mention a few. Ernani, which nominees would you like to mention?
Yes, I previously picked my favorite component for this episode. The first one is Lua Sandbox. It's nice to see a sandboxed engine that can be run within PHP and integrated with PHP. I've seen some.
No, it's not in PHP. I think it uses the Lua extension of PHP, but
yeah,
it does some things that are specific to sandbox the accesses.
yeah, exactly. So the thing is, joining both languages is a nice milestone. At least by having just the Lua extension is not enough, and having a sandbox environment where you can safely execute Lua scripts, then it's something else, and it represents security and rules that can be specified so you can control your environment. And I've seen lots of applications using Lua since Angry Birds, because Lua is very oriented to callbacks as well as ActionScript. They are similar in syntax with slightly differences, but it's nice to see that there are the possibility of sandboxing your Lua environment within PHP. And my next vote goes, oh, sorry, just to mention, it's Christian Bartz. He's from Netherlands, and it's nice to see your effort here. My next component, which I picked for this episode, is from Mikhail. I don't know his full name. So he's from United States. He has provided already 3 packages. And this component was the winner. So congratulations to the winner. And it helps searching jobs on different job sites. So if you're willing to extract information from several websites using this component, please feel free. So just make sure that the license is shareware. And despite that, if you need the functionality or if you're willing to use it, it's nice to see that you can do that with this component.
Right. I think let me double check here, but from what I understood, that component is able to retrieve the feeds of jobs from different sites like Craigslist and Indeed and Monster. And I think this is specific to the United States. Right, it's flagged here. I think maybe it can be adapted to work on other countries, just to switch the feeds, probably.
Right.
Well, on my part, I also like to comment a couple of components. One of them is inline testing. This one is from Alexander from Moldova. And before you say it, it's true that there are not many authors from Moldova sending their packages, but actually Alexander sent a quite advanced component in the sense that it even uses something that is relatively recent, which is traits, to implement in testing features. Basically, it is able to define the tests that a class is expected to perform by defining them in doc blocks, inline comments, and that's why it's called inline testing. And this is interesting. And then you can use special traits that are provided with the package to help in the actual testing of those the conditions of the tests and so on. So kudos to Alexander for his great contribution. And this kind of advanced components kind of raise the bar of the quality of the components sent to the site. I hope he continues to send more components of this level. And the other component that I want to mention is print form PDF by Alexander Salifonov. This is a regular contributor from Russian. He's been sending many great components. Just so you get an idea, he has already been sent 10 innovative components, and he has been the winner twice. And I think, according to the system emissions levels that I mentioned have been implemented just recently, is probably one of the authors that is more advanced, because not many authors have been implementing so many innovative packages and even winning the award for 2 times. And talking back to the actual component, this is a component that can create PDF documents, but using PDF templates, and it uses some code to parse the templates and insert some parameters defined in a XML package. And this is a very interesting approach to the generation of PDF. So kudos to Alexander for his contribution.
Congratulations.
Well, with this package, we practically ended our podcast. It was a great podcast. We talk about the very interesting and important subjects for PHP and also MySQL. And let's see what happens after this, and we can continue to comment on those issues, because they are still open. Let's see what happens with the Zend Optimizer Plus adoption or not. Let's see also how MySQL is being MySQL from Oracle is being accepted versus MariaDB, and if it will effectively be faster. So on my part, that is all for now. I don't know, Ernani, if you have your final remarks.
No, I just wish to thank you, everybody. And if you have any comments, please comment on. We are accepting suggestions, and thanks everyone for being here.
Well, on my part, that is all for now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.